Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to TLT for round 18, 19 or the final, I guess, sort of week where you don't need 17 in your team. Again, you only need your 13 players this week. And looking quickly at the team list, mate, before we go into TLT, there may be some repercussions for coaches this week after Origin on Wednesday night. Speaking of, mate, you're wearing some lovely Maroons kit, looking for a 2-1 come from behind victory, mate.
100%.
It's going to be a great one.
Yes. I cannot wait, Cord. Pleasure to be here again. And yes, can't wait for tomorrow night. Try and do a little live stream piece again, a little preview piece tomorrow
If you actually
night.
haven't tuned into a live stream yet from Door or Wobbling or any of the other guys, they are great content. So do, if we add up a stream, probably around 6 o'clock, I'd say, Door, tomorrow night.
So, try to aim it to around 6 to 7 or 6:30 to 7:30 at the very latest. I don't know, try and see if we can get Hainsey and a couple of other content creators
it's always a good one when he's on.
That would be good. Cord, before we go quickly into the teams, I'll quickly go review how we went last week, just due to the fact that there was no Monday night with Door last night. Look, we scored 781 points, and look, you might not think that's not a lot of points, but we were 9,806th overall at the end of round 17. At the end of round 18 last week, we are 6,726.
What a rise. That's a meteoric rise if I've ever seen one.
So we made a heap of ranks last week, over 3,000 ranks. Our score of 781 was 1,288th in the world for round 18, so we did really well. Look, in terms of the players that we got in, they did all right. They didn't do too bad. We got in Fiketti, who got us 45 points.
Yeah, big W for Fiketti.
And then we got in Eli Katoa as well, and he got 59. Look, across the board, some great performances. I think the highlights, though, Cord, Tyrrell May, again, dominant, very dominant from teammate, 73 points. We had him as captain, so 146.
Goat Tings.
Fogarty was good as well, 65 points from him. He's been a mainstay of the all-out team for the best part of the season. Hughes, we got in a couple of weeks, 56 points for him. 78 for Marky Mark. He just continues that absolutely stunning season for Marky Mark. Tommy Turbo Cord.
Our pod, I would say.
Yes, our pod indeed. 64 points from Tommy Turbo. He's scoring much better in the centers, so that's really good for us, Cord. I think that was just like you said, that pod really gave us, made us a few ranks. I think just Tommy Turbo, and he seems to be busy. He's not staying out on that right side or that the center position.
He's moving around.
He's roving around, so that's really good. Drinky, 62 points for him. Probably the one that stings a little bit, but it doesn't. If you look at our halves of 65 and 56 from Fogarty and Hughes, Latu Fainu, he got us 63 points but didn't play due to obviously only needing 13 players. So that was the only one that stings, Cord. Look, we'll be able to field a full 13 players this week, so we're in good shape. We don't need to make trades, but potentially we've still got Jackson Purdue, and he is leaking a bit of coin, but it's not like a necessary 100% sell. So otherwise, let's get into TLT unless you wanted to touch on something.
Straight to TLT,
All right,
and we will touch on Origin again tomorrow night if you want to tune in. Sharks, Dolphins, I want to fly through TLT this week because we know there's Origin coming out. So let's go straight to it. Sharks, only the one change to that side that lost to the Storm. Daniel Atkinson coming onto the bench for the expensive Billy Burns. For the Finns, Cody Nikorima out with a hamstring injury. See Sean O'Sullivan into the starting side. The Hammer has been named in the fullback jersey to back up from Origin a couple of days after. Max Figai shifts to centre. Jake Gavarillo to the wing. Fantasy relevance here, all I'm seeing is Katoa, bye. And the other name that I'm seeing, not really as much of a buy, but potentially the Hammer if you want to pod. But definitely Herbie Farnworth as well if you don't have him.
Yeah, Herbie I think's the must-have out of all those, Cord. I think another one, quote me now if you want to, but Cronulla have an absolute dream run for the next couple of weeks. So I know they've still got one bye to go, but they've got some really easy opposition coming up. So the likes of Nico Hines, who hasn't really had that much of a breakout season, Adam Fanua-Blake, Britton Nickera as well. Those type of guys I think could go quite large over the coming weeks. Then, like you said, for the Dolphins, I think a good Herbie's definitely one. I think Herbie and Katoa's nearly borderline must-have territory if you need like a third half. For All Out and myself, I don't think so as much. But if you need a third half, I like Katoa. And look, the last thing I want to say about that game is just Kurt Donahue is staying in the at lock, so he's not in the halves, which I think some people were worried about him shifting there because that's where he played the rest of the game. In that game a couple of weeks ago, he moved in to the halves when Nicarima went off with that hamstring injury. So great news for Donahue owners that he's at lock.
Yeah, moving on straight to the Knights.
Oh, Fletcher Hunt. I was hoping for McCarthy.
Night Storm game. And again, if you don't have Eli Katoa, he continues to wreak havoc on the edge there for the Storm. Jerome Hughes seems to be a good buy for the Storm as well as another backup half. Ryan Pappenhausen has been named after having a calf complaint last week, I believe it was.
Yep.
Nick Meaney returns to centre, who had an absolute blinder and a great celebration for Dry July to kick off that month. Anderson pushes back to the wing. For the Storm, really just the common names here. Good to see Munster also not named here for the Storm.
Basically all the Storm, like Liero, Munster, Grant, have all been named on the extended bench. I honestly think that Cameron Munster won't play this game.
Yeah,
I think with
everything
everything that has happened, I think he'll play Origin and then he'll go spend some time with his family again, considering what's happened. So
I agree. Yeah,
but look, Grant, Liero, and stuff, they could come in, but we'll have to stay tuned for late mail.
And for the Knights, Fletcher Hunt comes into the side, which Doyle you're obviously unhappy about.
Oh, I just have McCarthy.
Kalen Ponga sidelined with that foot injury and looks to be a long-term injury. So
season, I think.
Definitely a sell. Greggy Marju from an arm injury returns, pushes James Schiller to the reserves, and a boost up front with Leo Thompson actually making a return from suspension. Frizzell goes back to lock. For the Knights, I'm not seeing much fantasy relevance here at all.
No, well, the one fantasy relevance was the two people that have been shifted, which was Jaden Brayley and Phoenix Crosland. They'd both been going really well at starting hooker and starting lock, respectively. Look, I don't think that there's any really player that I'd be saying. Good to see Black Helmet keeps his spot, Jacko.
Definitely.
Good, and he'll be wanting to have a big game as well. Bad news in regards to him as well on the family front. So, look, both Hastings and I think Munster tomorrow night will both have big games for the loss of their parents. So I wish those two all the best, and our thoughts are with their families. But yeah, in regards to fantasy for that game, Cord, no, I do not see. Well, Dylan Lucas is good, but another thing you need to remember with Knights players is that they've still got one more bye to come. So that's something to make note. And look, this Storm team, I think, is very rough.
Yeah.
I think there could be a lot of changes, but fantasy-wise, look, Pappenhausen, I think, is a good option if he plays. If you didn't get Pappenhausen last week, Hughes is good, and Eli Katoa, like you said, has been killing it. I think we just wait maybe 1 or 2 weeks for Harry Grant, and that's about it in regards to fantasy relevance for that game, brother.
Moving on to the Drags and the Roosters game. Roosters coming off a tough L to the Tigers. Dragons, Maroon Star, Val Holmes has been named to back up from Origin 3. Corey Allen to 18th man. Luciano Leilua and Hamish Stewart are back on deck for the Drags. So that's good news for any of the owners that held them. For the Roosters, Sammy Walker has made his long-awaited return to the NRL. Which means I think it's Sandon Smith making way.
It is.
At hooker, which definitely makes him a sell now if Sammy Walker can definitely keep on the pitch. Billy Smith, Victor Radley looks like they've returned, and Origin reps Toya, Watson, Collins, Crichton, Lenu all been named to back up on the weekend against the Drags.
Oh, just absolutely terrific news, Cord. Absolutely beautiful stuff. Fekete is starting still. That was a concern, but look, I think his performance speaks for itself. And look,
Wasn't he a gun?
Egan Butcher was all over the place in the wars on the weekend. So that's really good. Marky Mark back to the sting, which is, look, it doesn't really matter where Marky Mark is. They could go large again. The Chooks here could. Outside of that for Roosters, look, yeah, like you said, Sandon Smith, he has to go, blood. he has to go.
He has to go, blood.
He has to go. But do I think that Sam Walker's going to stay 7 and Savala's 6? I'm not sure about that. I think Savala's still going to dominate the kicking. I think he's just got an absolute terrific boot. So, look, this could hurt Savala, but with the way he's going, Cord, I don't think he's anything of we've got to get rid of Savala now. Let me just quickly check the break even, because if it is it's still 27. So against the Dragons, definitely hold on to Savala. He could, as we've discussed multiple times on this pod, could be a keeper. Now Dragons, I'm not seeing anything called.
No, I'm not seeing anything.
Damien Cook is probably the one shining star that I would look at from the Dragons team. Other than that, I wouldn't be touching anyone else at all, Cord.
Moving on, mate, to the Cows and the Bulldogs. The Doggies coming off 2 back-to-back losses to the hands of Penrith, and then the Broncos come from behind victory. Now play the Cows this weekend on the Saturday night, and looking down their team, Stephen Crichton will back up. Matt Burton shifts to 5'8". Lockie Galvin back to the bench. And I will say, arguably, a lot of speculation in where that's going to go for the Doggies. Sexton's been better than Galvin since Galvin's arrived. I just got to add that into the pod this week. Max King, Kurt Mann also been named to back up, and Harry Hayes moves back to the bench, who was elite on the weekend. Bailey Hayward starts at lock. Turpin, 18th man. Jacob Carraz is listed 18th man for the Blues on Wednesday night and has been named for the Doggies, which is great news for owners after a disappointing weekend without him. Looking down that Dogs list, mate, definitely Carraz by, definitely you can think about Preston after a disappointing 29 on the weekend, and Kickout seems to be the other one absolutely flying.
Yeah, though I wouldn't be looking at anyone else called maybe Matt Burton, but he didn't have the best game out the centers on the weekend.
Yeah,
Connor Tracy, if you don't mind, a bit of a pod, but yeah, for me, those are the guys called Kiraz, Kickout, and Preston. I think Preston will bounce back this week.
For the Cows, though, mate, looking down this list, Scotty Drinkwater, he's been proving himself over the week against tough opposition that he can still score well. Definitely a buy. I'm looking down the list of more. Jackson Purdue offered 29, I believe, again on the weekend, and then a 15 the week before that. He is definitely a sell this week if you have the trades. I'd be going straight to a Fichetti, even potentially going down the list, and we haven't named him yet, but to a De Silva.
Yeah, there could be some players to move to, Cord. But, yeah, look, he is – really depends on how many trades, because it is sort of a luxury trade to move Purdue. You can just wait another week. He might lose a bit of money. You hope he goes well, and then get him when you've got the extra trades, which I believe come in at the start of next week, round 20. Outside of that, look, McKaylee's been great, but I just think with the Origin players back on deck, don't think he's going to do as well with them back on. I think Drinky's the real star and the player that you want to focus on in that Cowboys side. I'm not really seeing anyone else in that Cows side that you want to get into your team, Cord.
And if you're happy to move on, I'm happy to move on.
Yeah, happy to move on. I touched
game
on the Dogs just before, so yeah, happy to move on, mate.
Straight to Sunday now, mate. Warriors, Tigers. And I'm looking down this list. Tigers played an absolute great game on the weekend.
Oh, terrific
and
stuff.
They won it, then they had to win it again in the second half because they were coming back, those Roosters. Luai will back up. Undewey returns to the centres. Hooker, Api Coruscant returns from concussion. So they got some good ins here, the West Tigers, against the depleted Wars. Tuilapiki lines up at fullback. Chance Klokstad nursing that knee injury.
Yeah,
Luke Metcalf season's gone, so Tanner Boyd into the starting side. DWZ makes an early return from injury. Cody Catewell will back up, but he is listed among the reserves. I would say that he backs up, you would think. And fantasy-wise, mate, Terrell must have.
Yeah,
I'm not really seeing much.
Latu Fanu and
great,
yeah,
wasn't he?
Latu Fanu and Tyrrell May are obviously the ones that you want to be having in your side. Look, a new hope, Tristan, a new hope. He was terrific on the weekend, but with Appy back, his role does his role diminishes basically. He's not going to get those minutes, unfortunately. So while he was terrific, look, you need something to happen to Coruscant for him to be fantasy relevant. Look, Aaron Clark for the Wars, he's been great thus far this season. One definitely to watch, Cord, is Tanner Boyd. Thankfully, I've got 2 from 2. Oh, well, actually, 1 from 1 at the moment with Tanner Boyd coming in. We did touch on him last week. Is a potential player to come in, Cord.
Yep.
He's in now, so look, you could just go straight away if you want to, because the Warriors have played all their bye rounds, so they're there for the rest of the season. But I just wait and see personally. Outside of the back line, look, I wouldn't be rushing to get any of those backs like Tua Peaky. RTS maybe might be the best of the bunch there. Fisher Harris isn't bad either. Like, he's been putting up solid numbers all season. And same with Halasima. But the issue with Tanner Boyd is, look, if it doesn't go well, like Tamaro Martin's been like pretty good when he's had a chance thus far this season. So look, if it doesn't start well, there is a chance that Tanner Boyd could be dropped and Tamaro Martin move into the halves.
You would say Tanner Boyd kicks goals as well.
Yeah,
from memory.
In play, will be probably doing the goal kicking. I'd say it'd be better than Pompey. So yeah, I think it'll be goal kicking, infield play kicking as well. So yeah, definitely one to watch.
Now moving on to the next game, and we did touch on this man last week, the Eels-Panthers game. For the Eels, Tiger Talon De Silva. He has been named on the bench for his first game as an Eel. I wouldn't really take that as much. Like, there's potential that he could start the following week. Joey Lussick in that position now. If you need a cash out option, he is definitely still the guy. 230K, definitely go him.
Yeah, there's a good upside with De Silva. Could there be a late change and he starts over Lussick potentially? Could Lussick play 20 minutes and then De Silva plays like the rest of the 60?
Yeah.
Yes, as well. Look, there's no real downside, I think, to getting De Silva. Personally, I thought he was definitely going to be starting, so I am a bit shocked that he's there. But look, De Silva, look, he actually could wait. Looking at that break even, 230K, he's got a break even of 46, so he could wait another week. He might make a few K if he gets like that 60-minute roll could, but I think you can definitely wait a week to get him in just due to the fact of that high break even. For the rest of Parramatta,
I'm not liking anything.
No. Orko's been good, but Moses probably isn't too far away. Lomax, that's the star. That Zach Lomax is probably one that you could definitely look at outside of De Silva. De Silva's obviously a cash out, get you some money potentially to, if he kills it, you could upgrade him to someone really good. Or down to a red dot and use that extra money to upgrade someone else to a gun. But yeah, Zach Lomax for me for the Eels, Cord, is the one you want to look for the run home.
If you've noticed and opened up the fantasy app, you will see that most or all of the Penrith Origin players have got that purple dot listed among the reserves this week. I'd say where they are on the ladder and the logjam of the NRL ladder in 2025, if Penrith don't win this game, they go further back in the pack to make the 8. If all these guys are good to play on come Sunday, they're playing.
I think To'o won't play just due to the fact of the injury that he's coming into State of Origin tomorrow night with. He's basically, was touch and go to play. So I don't think he plays. The others, look, like you said, if they lose this game, they're currently in 6th on 21 points. And that 1 point, that draw against the Cowboys, there's 4 teams on 20 points. So if they lose, there's a real chance with Manly on the bye. So they've got a 2 free points this week. Roosters versus the Dragons. Look, who knows what could happen there. Look, there's a chance, like you said, Cord, they could move from 6th all the way down to 10th, potentially even lower. So there is a risk, but
the Sharks and the Dolphins play each other as well. So if they lose, they'll be out of the 8.
Yeah. Well, look, it's up to Ivan what he wants to do. They could just rest them this week, go with what they've got, and then hope that it all turns beautiful at the end of the rest of the season. Look, there's still plenty of rounds to go in the regular season, so as much as we'd love to see them play, there is a chance that none of them actually play. But let's hope that they back up.
Great, mate. Moving on to the next game, or the last game of the round, is the Titans with the Broncos. For the Broncos, firstly, Pat Curran, Haas, Shibasaki, all named to back up from Origin 3. Cobbo to the bench. Veteran playmaker Benny Hunt returns at hooker after missing 6 games. This sees the big guns, Corey Pakes, Jaden Hunt, Hoyter, Smoothie, and Tolty all dropping out. So Billy Walters has won that bench hooker role, and he has been elite over the last couple of weeks, I would say.
Is it Dozer watch, Cord?
It's Dozer watch.
Is it Dozer watch? Now with the starting hooker, I
wouldn't think so. 435K.
435K, break even at 34. It is a bit tempting, but I think Billy Walters, with how well he's been playing at the moment, is probably deserving of at least like 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's actually tempting, isn't it?
But that is very tempting. Ben Hunt at hooker there, Cord.
Broncos still have another bye round, which probably puts any sort of Broncos player other than Haas or Carrigan out of the picture for me personally. Moving on to the Titans, though. David Fifita named to play on the bench after a return from an ankle injury. Jaden Campbell is also back on deck. So if you're looking for a player there is big potential for Jaden Campbell. I will say the Titans still have 2 buys, I think.
No, Titans are all done.
They're all done?
They're all done.
Oh, really?
They play every game for the rest of the season. They're all done. The only teams that have got the Rabbitohs have got 2 buys left, but they've got 1 this week, so they'll move to 2 buys, so then they'll have 1 left. And the Raiders also have a buy this week.
Well, that just makes Jaden Campbell a much more interesting option.
Yeah, 100%. I think, and Fafita's, I wouldn't say go get Fafita, but he's definitely one to watch the meter eater.
The meter eater.
Yeah, 677 for, look, you can get Jaden Campbell this week, but you could wait a week. His break-even's very high, 82 break-even for Jaden Campbell this week, so that is extremely high. Definitely could wait a week, Cord. Outside of that, I don't think there's really much else to talk about in the Titans. Look, the Brim keeps on going along quite nicely since moving to fullback, but you've got to be careful. Keeney's coming back soon, so I wouldn't be rushing out to get him.
Yep.
I think, Jaden Campbell's great. Bo Firma is another option as well. He's been great if you need like that center. I think like a Herbie. Look, if you got Herbie, Firma and Dylan Lucas, like that is a beautiful center partnership.
Oh, bloody earth.
There. So, and look, Fafita, he's the great unknown. We need him back starting court. He can't be benched behind Chris Randall. Surely
not.
Like Chris Randall's he's been going well at the edge, but look, he's a hooker and just playing out on the edge, doing a solid job. But look, Fafita's break even's like 58, I think. So look, he could be a pod in a couple of weeks' time for the run home, but we need to see those bigger minutes. So I think that's about it.
Yeah, we'll wrap it up there for this week, mates. Exciting news. There is a new platform that we're launching at All Out through WhatsApp, potentially, which might be just an NRL tips sort of format. There's potential for other sort of things, but Bentley is all over that. So we might let Bentley actually plug that in the Buy, Hold, Sell podcast because he has more information on it. But coming this week, there will be a new addition to the All Out sort of socials platform. So keep an eye out for that one if you're still listening.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's definitely something, Cord. Look, they're going quite well. But look, if you like to have a little punt on the NRL, want to make a bit of money, the boys they've actually done some trialing of this before. We're actually going to launch it, they're going quite well. So we'll let Bence plug it on
There's
Thursday.
algorithms and everything, but most importantly, gamble responsibly. We have to add that.
Yes.
But yeah, there is algorithms. I'll let Bence plug it in the Buy, Hold, Sell. So keep out for that on Thursday. Other than that,
more information or more things to try and help out everyone that follows this great page. So yeah, we're all for you guys, trying to help you guys out as much as we can. So, look, we're trying to get on top of those DMs. I think we're nearly there. Ben said he pulled a long shift last night. So, look, we appreciate all the support, and we'll be back next week, Cord. And just quietly, Go those Queenslanders.
Oh,
go
go
those
those
Maroons.
Queenslanders.
Yeah, let's bring it home for Stephen Munster. Big 2-1.
See you then. Bye.